seeing this, I mean, a story, you're probably used to covering stories, and there's almost like an otherness to them, right? It's a not that it's a spectator sport kind of thing, but you're
not
outside,
here so much, but
you're outside looking in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're inside looking around.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's unnerving to me anyway.
So talk about, I'm working toward talking about some of the events happening in town tonight and some of the things that have transpired here, but I want to start it with the city council meeting last night. Can you clue us in, hip us to that scene?
Right.
Daddy-o.
Yeah, and that's about as hip as any city council meeting will ever get. Anyway, yeah, so the Crescent City Council added 3 emergency items to their regular agenda. One was to declare a local emergency, and they did that unanimously. The second was to close the pool and suspend community events requiring city approval. So basically anything that you need to get a permit for. And this includes use of the cultural center and beachfront park. They did that. They closed the pool and they suspended events through their next meeting on April 6th, at which point they will revisit that decision, maybe adjust it if anything has changed. But at this point, it is closed, and the staff at the pool will be doing a quote-unquote deep clean, according to the city manager. And then the last thing that they did was for the duration of the local emergency declaration, which is 60 days, it will be reviewed in 60 days. They have suspended their water shutoff policy for non-payment of a customer's water bill.
Excellent.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that your bill is forgiven. It just means that they will not shut off your water during the emergency.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
So you said just now 60 days for the emergency declaration, right?
They will review it in 60 days.
But before then, they're going to review specific aspects of it, at the April 6th meeting.
At the April 6th meeting. This includes, like I said, this includes shutting down the pool, suspending community events, including using the cultural center, other events in, and the only event in the cultural center that was planned was Casa's Crystal Ball.
Right.
And they decided to postpone it anyway. That is going to be held in early fall, and I forget when it was supposed to be held, but it was coming up. And then so stuff in the park that includes Little League, that includes soccer, just basically any major events in the park requiring a permit.
Wow,
also includes Live from Downtown. It's First Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at the very least, the April First Friday isn't going to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as the leagues go, I just noticed I was driving by a Beachfront Park this last week and saw that there was a t-ball practice happening out there. And so it is very cute, and it's so that means it's baseball season. I remember that. Baseball, God. It's the coldest I've ever been, is a baseball season in Del Norte County. But the so is that just not happening then? Peterson Park? Or not Peterson Park, but the one next to the, what's the name of that?
The one next to the Flynn Center?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, if
that did not get brought up,
and it's typically into April and closer to May, if I remember when games start. So, but
see, I'm not up on the whole. I was not the sports editor at the Triplicate.
Yeah,
I'm not.
no.
I should pay probably more attention to sports than I do.
And this is all just from memory, being a parent and memories of okay, interesting. So anything involving a permit. Now the emergency declaration gives Eric Weir emergency powers, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. He can make purchases. He can negotiate with staff associations and make personnel policy changes, including shift changes. As a result, he mentioned that a lot of the staff are going to be trying to work from home as much as possible, and so in order to do that, he said that the city would need additional laptops and cell phones, and he estimated that cost to be between $20,000 and $25,000.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said that's going to come out of all different aspects of the city budget. And it also, in addition to giving him more power, emergency powers, it also will enable the city to potentially go after any federal emergency funding, federal or state emergency funding that is made available through this crisis. According to the resolution they passed yesterday, the city council passed yesterday, President Trump had indicated that he is going to be making $50 billion in emergency federal funding available to local communities due to the COVID-19 response.
I just saw there was a headline today. I haven't delved into it, but it was a larger package that involves. It's like something like
I saw that too. It was like
850?
580 billion or
Is it
something.
580 billion?
Something like that. I just saw that.
Wow. Yeah. So staying up on top of all of this. Is there anything else functionally from the city council meeting last night?
There was a lot of other things on their regular agenda that I still need to wrap my head around. Mm-hmm. Not because it's complicated. I mean, it is. One of them was their commercial cannabis ordinance.
Oh, right.
But yeah. So that's it was just. This was just emergency stuff tacked on to their regular agenda.
Yeah. So there's also an underlying business as usual sort of thing too that the city council has to do. Wow, interesting.
Right.
I understand. Also, you were telling me, and I want to use this as a segue into other things to discuss this morning. That there were some public comments made last night that perhaps, I don't know if I don't want to mischaracterize, but shook your faith in humanity. Is that too strong?
A little bit.
Okay,
I don't know how much
right.
faith in humanity I ever had.
Yeah, that's the. It was too weak, but from the wrong side of the syllogism there. Yeah. So a big issue was closing the pool. There were folks who were not happy with that.
There were a handful of people that weren't happy with the decision to close the pool, and I understand it. I mean, I think more than anything else, it's probably, it's a disruption to their routine.
Sure.
If I have a feeling it would be akin to my gym closing for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if my gym closes, I can go for a walk, I can go hike. I mean, there are plenty of places and plenty of ways for me to get exercise.
Yeah.
Rather than going to the gym. And I'm lucky, maybe for somebody who's had hip surgery or knee replacement or whatever, they can't do that.
Those
and
people,
so I understand why they're concerned.
The older folks doing the slow laps across the shallow end down there. That means a lot to them. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. But at the same time, my feeling is, I mean, we heard from Dr. Raywald and the public health officer and Kimmy Scott that, the most at-risk population are those who are elderly, those who have underlying health issues like diabetes, and those who are immunocompromised. And, you go to the pool to stay healthy, but what about staff that work at the pool that have to go home to their families? Mm-hmm. Just because you go to the pool doesn't necessarily mean that you're too healthy to get sick.
Right,
and
exactly.
I don't think anyway. I'm not a medical expert, but
well, yeah. People, it's such a tricky thing to communicate to folks that faced with a situation like this and the kind of measures that slowly we're coming around to, the things that we need to do, we all need to do them.
Yes.
No matter how much it hurts, we all need to do them. I know you might not be able to use the pool for at least a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months.
Right.
Yeah, that sucks. But the larger issue, it is a bigger thing than just your inconvenience.
Well, it's like me, 3 weeks ago, I was sick. Mm-hmm. I had the cough, the runny nose, the fever, all that stuff. I hate staying home. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's hard for me to stay home, but I'll have to if I.
Yeah. there've been for me personally too. There was somebody who was sick, a K-Fug DJ, who then was out and about and actually interacting with members of my family, and I'm like, you're too sick to do your show.
That's not cool.
There's a pandemic going on. And you're coming around and talking to people. Go home.
Right.
Go the F home.
Right. Even if all you have is a cold.
Yeah. At the very least, then you're immunocompromised, and you shouldn't be out and about because that puts you at more risk with the coronavirus, and you could do the same to other people. And that's the thing that it seems like people are having a hard time remembering is that, you might be inconvenient. You have things that you like to do and experiences you want to have and all of that, and you have to curtail them now because it's not about you. You're doing this, and you might even think, oh, I'm not going to get sick. I'm young and healthy. I don't need to worry about this. No, it's
so you may not be symptomatic. I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't know about this virus.
Yeah, exactly, including how prevalent or even
if it is even here. Right,
exactly. We
because
don't know how many tests are you aware of being done here? I know of just the 5 that we talked about last week.
1 second.
Ooh, that's all I had to hold my beer. Jessica Sadar.
I don't drink, by the way. Not that anybody needs to know that. Okay. Wow. All right. So according to the the Del Norte County Public Health Branch, the number of people under investigation are 3. The number of confirmed cases are 0. Mm-hmm. The number of specimens with results pending are 4, and the number of negative tests are 12.
So, okay, last week we talked.
This is as of today at 9:45 a.m.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Raywalt and the county.
Kimmy, yeah.
Was that from Kimmy? Did that come from Kimmy?
Both.
Yeah. Thanks for the work you're doing. And everybody who works for and with them, too. I mean, it's not just those two people.
Absolutely.
I know. We talked to Mary Dorman. I had to pay my insurance, and so I'm sitting, 6 feet away from Mary Dorman yesterday, and we're talking, and she was saying that she's such a sweetheart. I love that woman. She was talking about how she was taking C's chocolate down to the county health department because they're all working so hard.
Oh,
and
I want chocolate.
I'm going, right on, Mary. That's wonderful. Okay, where was I going with all this? So take us back, rewind us here. You were just saying what now? I'm still waking up. Go back. What we were talking about.
The number of cases.
Yes, the number of cases.
Yeah,
that's where
the number of cases not here.
So last week, talking with Dr. Raywalt and Kimmy Scott, at that time, this was less than a week ago. This was 6 days ago. Last Wednesday, there had been 5 tests.
Right.
So now it was 12 total?
12 total.
So 12 total, there are 3...
12 negative results, and there are 3 pending.
3 pending, so we're talking about 15, right?
That's a good question. I'm assuming it's 15. I don't know.
Okay, either...
I could, if I get in touch with Dr. Raywalt, I'll ask.
Well, if we're talking about 12 that they know or 12 that they know...
No, for sure, negative, and then 3 that are pending. Yeah.
And that's, So far, so good for Del Norte County.
Right.
But... it is untenable to assume that will continue.
Right.
In fact, it is almost a foregone conclusion. COVID-19 is going to come through here. It's going to come through everywhere. That's the pan part of the pandemic.
Okay.
No?
I don't know.
Do you know differently?
I don't know. I don't know enough to say that. I'm not... I think Dr. Raywald thought along those lines, but...
Yeah.
I don't... I guess I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people don't know what's going to happen.
I think it's the short money to think that, or the long money. I've never been a gambler or a mobster, so I'm not sure how to use that phrase. I shouldn't have done that.
Maybe it's safe to assume.
I think it's safe to assume. Well, and of course, we're not going to keep it out of here. We would have to be on an island with no travel
right, exactly. You would have to turn away cars at the Oregon state line and at the county line. Right.
And so that, I think it's a very safe assumption it will come through here. It will come through everywhere.
Right.
And so we're not going to keep that. And case in point, we've had enough, and it's good to know that there are tests here that they're using. But we've had just from last week, the number of people being tested has tripled, and so that tells you something. And that's another thing to remember is that these things change exponentially. They grow exponentially, and viruses spread that way. So the time to take measures and to address the possible spread of a pandemic virus in a place where we are, sandwiched on the West Coast between two hotspots. I was looking at maps yesterday and looking at numbers, and
Bay Area and
Seattle.
Yeah.
And we're kind of
we're right in the middle.
We're in the zone between, and there's only like 30 something cases in reported in Oregon total, and there's 400 here, and I think twice that up in Seattle right now, 400 in California, and so we're kind of in that zone. It's going to spread out. The time to take measures, to practice the things like social distancing, to stop events, to keep people out of each other's faces, is now here before the virus emerges in Del Norte County.
Absolutely.
So that it's not too late. We can clamp it down. And people talk about, what the social distancing, and there's so many things I see online where everything from this is a government conspiracy to keep us all separate, which is ridiculous because it just means we're going to be sitting at home on the internet talking to each other. But all sorts of just this is manipulation. It's going to lead to a suspension of the election, blah, blah, blah. That is all, I don't know. In my mind, that's like unicorn talk. That's not. It's too soon for any of that. What we need to talk about now is mitigating and limiting the spread of this virus and spreading it out over time so that we don't overwhelm the healthcare system. I saw a thing last night, and we're still working up to the point. I saw this thing last night. I was researching social distancing, and I was doing that because today is St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patty's Day is a big, big day, especially for one of our prized underwriters, an underwriter that's been with us for several years, and we're bully on them and they're bully on us. I love Porta Pints. Porta Pints has a huge party and has for the past 4 years on St. Patrick's Day. And they had, up until yesterday, they were still promoting this event happening tonight along the same sort of lines. It was up until just yesterday. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, you're going to have this. I've been to these events. There are hundreds of people there. There we go. I just tapped the light. I was doing my reverse Fonzie and the light went out. There we are. Okay, cool. So lots of people coming to Porta Pints as usual, as does every St. Patrick's Day. And it's a scene, and just elbow to jowl there. And I was thinking, wow, that's really irresponsible. We cannot have events like that. And so I started at first, and before I did anything, I wanted to approach the experts. So last night I wrote an email to Dr. Raywalt and Kimmy Scott saying, here's this thing going on. Am I overreacting? Mm-hmm. Just yesterday, the CDC changed their guidelines for group gatherings to 50 people or few. Trump, and who knows what orifice he was talking out of, was saying
10.
Right, because I think it's like yesterday. It finally, like, you could see Trump, like he got his head around finally what's happening. And he was scared. And I think that you could see it in his face because it finally got through.
See, I didn't see. I heard the recording. I didn't see the video of it.
Yeah. It
just seemed the NPR folks were talking about how he was deferring to experts, which is something that he doesn't normally do. Mm-hmm. That he was really just kind of subdued, and just. Yeah, and
admitting, saying, I forget what the exact quote was, but it was like, yeah, we don't have a handle on this after 2 months of saying, we got this under control.
This.
Yeah,
right.
So anyway, I wrote to Dr. Raywalt and Kimmy Scott. Raywalt, of course, is the public health officer for Del Norte County, and Kimmy Scott, we all know and love. She is the manager of the Office of Emergency
Services.
I was saying it.
Sorry.
Do we have to say it together?
No.
Does that make it the Office of Emergencies?
Sorry.
I just like saying it too. So I wrote them, said, here's what's going on at Porta Pints. Am I overreacting to be upset and to think this is a really bad idea? And they came back with, no, you're not. They would not attend an event like this, nor would they recommend anybody else attend an event like this. And okay, that's from Dr. Raywalt and Kimmy Scott, both of whom are incredibly competent people, and I'm really happy to have them kind of in our corner here in Del Norte.
Absolutely.
And so then I wrote Carol and Rick at Porta Pints and asked them to please reconsider and to not have this event because it's just irresponsible. They're community-minded people. They employ 11 people here. They are stuck in the middle of this as well, as we all are, but they are in a particular spot, being a small business person, being Irish, and it being St. Patrick's Day right here at the outset of a pandemic. And I'm like, wow, that's a really unfortunate spot to be in and a lot of things to juggle. But from a community standpoint, I can't condone, and in fact, the opposite. I need to say something about this. This should not be happening tonight. So I wrote all that to them. And this morning I woke up to an email back from Carol, and she was saying a number of things. First off, they have altered their plans for the party tonight. One of the bands has canceled. The Lost Woods, for some reason, is still playing. They are going to be open as a venue. They don't expect a lot of people to come out, and they're promoting curbside pickup. You can call in, you can order. I think they're working it out so you can order online. I don't know what the particulars are with that, but you can order your plate of delicious Irish food. I'm not down with St. Paddy's Day, so maybe that's the thing I should disclose too.
I've never been. It's like Cinco de Mayo. It's an excuse to drink.
Yeah, and corned beef. Yeah,
I like corned beef.
I prefer
but I can't
pastrami,
eat it
but that's just,
what's the difference?
Exactly. So, but anyway, there are plenty of folks, and even if you don't, because I don't care about St. Patrick's Day, I've had blasts at St. Patrick's Day parties at Porta Pints, and Rick, he dyes his beard green, he's got a leprechaun outfit, his eyes are shining all night long. It's a wonderful time, and it's a fun event, and in the past, everybody has been there, so I don't, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on what they do. It's a wonderful, and of all the breweries here in town, and there's only two, yeah, Porta Pints is an underwriter. Porta Pints is a personal favorite. I like them. And Rick and Carol are across the board community-oriented people and have been. When Seaquake was coming in and they were trying to set up their brew operations, Rick got involved in going over there and working with their brewmaster.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Got over and was setting up and helping them set up their whole stuff.
Right.
So anyway, where we were talking about tonight and St. Patrick's Day that's happening at Porta Pints. They are still going to be open. There will still be an act there. Lost Woods playing there at 6 o'clock from what I saw in the email this morning. Like I said, Carol and Rick are promoting and pushing, calling in, getting your food taken out to the car, your corned beef and cabbage, and taken out to the, I know, it's just taken out to the car. You can get a growler, you can take it home, you can stream the acts. They will be streaming the acts there, and then their headliner tonight was a live stream of I forget what it is, one of those, that big Irish band, it's the Mollies something.
Oh, the Flogging Molly?
That's it, the Flogging Mollies. Again, not my scene, but that's
right.
Just, yeah, but they're someplace, and they're going to stream that. They were going to watch that at Porta Pints tonight instead of having a live act. So, again, great, and I will promote and celebrate all of this curbside takeout pickup stuff. That's a wonderful way for a business like Porta Pints to get through this. They have, as Carol pointed out in the email, they have 11 employees. Those are 11 people who are working for nights like tonight, who are working and trying to pay their bills during all of this and trying not to have hours slashed, trying to stay alive and make a living through a pandemic, which is a particularly new challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
Having said all that, and I will promote and celebrate. Yeah, order and enjoy the beer. Rick makes fantastic award-winning beer there. You can take it home. I particularly love the root beer myself. But going to an event like this tonight is a bad idea. If there's anybody in there, it could be potentially it is a risky thing to do and potentially a very bad thing for the community. Social distancing is a thing that works and is important to do, especially now before the emergence of a virus in our community. As I was doing some research last night and looking at the 1918 pandemic, the Spanish flu, specific instance of social distancing, and this is something that has been pointed out in a number of videos and articles I saw actually last night. Two cities. Philadelphia. Philadelphia kind of didn't practice social distancing. This was, I believe, in over the winter after the end of the war, 1918 into 1919, and they didn't practice any of the social distancing. They actually had a big parade, and I forget what that specific parade was, but they had a big parade. People came out. There was a big spike in illnesses, overwhelmed the healthcare system. This was a time when, and remember this, there were cities in the United States under martial law. People were leaving their dead outside to be picked up. That's how bad it got. Yes, that's how bad it got. In Philadelphia, 17,000 people alone. In Philadelphia alone, 17,000 people died. Another city, St. Louis. As soon as the word came down, this is a pandemic, we need to prepare for this, they did. And started and closed the schools, limited gatherings, initiated social distancing. Went through the same timeline as Philadelphia. 1/10 the number of people died. 1,700 people.
Jeez.
Still, 1,700 people. A tragedy.
Right.
But not the 17,000 because their system was overloaded, which is exactly what happened in Philadelphia. So right there, 100 years ago, almost to the month, we have an example of social distancing, why it's important, and how it can mitigate the effects of a situation such as a pandemic. So, in the email today, Carol asked, she said, I would never single KFUG out in any way. I'm not exactly sure, like it was unfair of me to single Port-au-Prince out. I'm not exactly sure how to take that, because if I were doing something equally irresponsible, I would want somebody to single me out. And even if I didn't want somebody to, at least the community should want somebody to single me out. She also asked, what's going on at Seaquake? Well, okay, so the short answer is I don't know what's going on at Seaquake. They're not an underwriter. Port-au-Prince, you guys are family. Seaquake, it's just another brewery. But so I go online and I look at that. They initiated takeout only. They closed their dining room and initiated takeout only this week, and are pushing some sort of delicious Irish meal that you can call and order, and they'll take it out. They'll take it out curbside. They'll take it out to you. They initiated that this week, so they're already ahead of the curve that way. And so yeah, all right. If there's one party happening in town tonight, it's happening at Port-au-Prince. It should not be happening. That should not be going on. Call in, get your food, stream. I mean, even have Lost Woods come and play to an empty room, put it online. I mean, all the late night stuff I watch, it's all just to empty auditoriums.
Well, I'm curious how many people actually show up.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting to see. And yeah, absolutely. Vaya con Dios, Jason. I'm not doing this again. This is not happening. Yeah, Jason's walking around. He's wiping down. This is really good. This is our own personal line of defense. Jason, the Fall Guy Fallman, he's on in the mornings from 6 until 8. He's been doing regular updates on the coronavirus because he is the Howard Hughes of KFUG. And I don't mean that in the keeping the urine in jars. That's not the kind of how. I just mean the germaphobe on top of all of that stuff.
Leonardo DiCaprio way.
Yeah, the Leonardo DiCaprio way. So he comes in. He's been cleaning everything. He's been wiping down doorknobs and the mouse and sneezing on things just to make sure they shine.
Sneeze on yourself, man.
Go sneeze on yourself. The keyboard, the board we have, all the things that people touch. He's been very sedulous about coming in and taking care of things. I've gotten into a regimen of pulling off the pop filters, the foam things on our microphones, and washing them every day with hot water and soap. And today I'm going to see about a nice gentle cycle in the dryer so that we can get them dry, because things don't dry in Del Norte County. And it's important.
It is important.
Cycle.
No, it is
These things are important.
I'm just trying to picture how I hope it works.
Yeah, it's like shit. Sorry. So yeah, washing those things to mitigate and to keep things down here. So Jason has been taking care of that. So every once in a while he'll come walking through and he tries to communicate with me in sign language, and it's just beyond me. So
Ew, don't do that.
So tonight, let's get back to this. So Carol was talking about, singling them out. As I was saying, I do not want to single them out. I don't think anybody should go to this event this evening. I'm really sorry about that. I know that you are a small business. There are things affecting KFUG along the same economic lines.
Hey, what about the casino?
That's also another thing that needs to be said. The casino, as far as I know, is still open. I went by it just yesterday, and they are still open. That is another thing that needs to be addressed. Thank you very much. Thank you for pointing that out, because I was focusing just on and Jessica's got her computer open. I was focusing just on Port-au-Prince and Seaquake. But yeah, absolutely. I go for my walk, and I walk up the Birch Trail, the Birch horse trail over there up Howland Hill, and walk right by the casino. And yeah, even as of yesterday, they had a half-full parking lot like they do all the time. Very irresponsible there as well, because those are the healthiest folks in Delaware County. And so anyway, back to Port-au-Prince, this thing tonight. We have a live update.
Yeah, this has taken effect as of Saturday.
Okay.
Sorry, it's March 14th. Closing the Elk Valley Casino's doors to the public every Wednesday from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. to allow staff to complete a comprehensive sanitation of the entire property.
Not good enough.
The Tuesday buffet will be canceled and replaced with specials offered within the Full House Bar and Grill.
Nope.
Regulate building capacities of recommended maximum of 250 people.
Nope. Also outdated.
Right. Well, this is as of Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
So postpone and or cancel large or high risk events. Elimination of self-serving soda to be replaced with drink service by Elk Valley Casino staff.
It's like you don't really understand what's happening here. It's not about what you do, it's about the venue you provide and the space that you suck all of these people into. Yeah, I know. It's all about that. All of this is about that. It's the same worries that Carol has with her employees. At a certain point, we have to acknowledge as a community that we have gone beyond the importance of a dollar sign. And that, I know, and you can say, oh, that's great for you to say. KFUG actually is kind of stuck in all of this as well. We were just securing a year's worth of funding from the California endowment when all of this breaks loose. I can't even get people to answer emails right now. So I have no idea what's going to happen for KFUG this year. What's going to happen to that funding? All of that's up in the air. Same thing. We need to address how to take care of small businesses. I will promote ad nauseum, calling in an order for a growler at Port-au-Prince. Go and do that. That's what we can do. The government also needs to do something to provide for all of these people who are going to be forced. And this is where we're headed. Probably by the end of this week, we will be forced to take this time off. So, yes, all of these issues, I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying they're unimportant. They are very important, but they are the second line on the agenda. The first is to stop gathering in public places like this. To stop at Port-au-Prince, Elk Valley should be closed, and it doesn't matter who's bringing you your drink. What matters is the number of people in a confined space. That's what is important. That's what social distancing is addressing. It's not the service. It's not how well you clean the carpet. Do you go to everybody's house and clean their stuff too? Do you give them any sort of attention? No. These people are all coming in, and you could be standing in an effing clean room. You're going to bring all these people in. It's going to be the same thing.
There are people who work at these places who may not have a choice but to work there.
Yes. Which isn't fair to them as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's not about dollar signs anymore. This is about mitigating the effects of a freaking pandemic. We are off the map, at least in our lives. This is something as a civilization we've gone through actually very recently, just 100 years ago. And there are lessons to be drawn from that. Case in point, the social distancing and the stories of St. Louis and Philadelphia. So please, I'm calling on everybody with any venue, with any place, and you're hosting more than 2 people people in your immediate circle. That's where you should be. And even then, 6 feet apart. If you have a public venue, not just St. Patrick's Day, not just Port-au-Prince, if you are hosting people in this community right now, you are already doing something highly irresponsible. And your actions, while you sit and you think, well, how am I going to pay my bills? How are my employees going to pay your bills? Yes, your actions have everything to do with your immediate circle, with your employees, with the people around you. But in a pandemic, in a viral situation, your actions also have repercussions for the rest of us. For my folks who are sequestered in their house way out there, and they're both in their pushing their mid-70s. For my father up in Gasky. For people in the prison that I work with and care about.
Absolutely.
All of these people, your decision to have your party, to scrape in another day's worth of revenue for your casino, your decision affects the people I love and the people I care about in this community. That's where we are. We are all in this together. This is all of us, the community. And if we don't hold our parts individually, if we don't hold up our end of the bargain, we let everybody down, and we could make things a lot worse than they need to be. Things are going to suck, and it's coming through. Coronavirus is going to come through. Flattening the curve doesn't mean limiting the number of people who get sick. Flattening the curve means mitigating that number, spreading it out over time so that what? How many beds does Sutter have? 70?
50.
50. So that our 50-bed rural hospital isn't overwhelmed. A bad car accident could overwhelm Sutter.
Yeah, and there was, on NPR this morning, it was one of the health officers for the Obama administration was talking about how we don't have enough ICU beds in this country.
In the country, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or ventilators.
Right.
Or any of that. And
Right.
you can yeah, got enough slot machines.
He was talking about
No,
he was talking about having to choose between who gets an actual respirator, who gets a bag respirator, and who doesn't.
Yeah, and who doesn't? And those are choices they have to make in Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
USA in 2020.
And
Right.
what?
USA in 2020 is just pointing out that we shouldn't have these problems as a modern.
Right. Well,
society.
we do.
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, in France, the president. It's basically martial law in Europe right now. I mean, you need an oath. You need a signed oath declaring that whatever business that you have that takes you out of your home is essential. It needs to be signed.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's, I mean, they're not fooling around with this.
No,
it's not,
nor should they.
It's no longer, I think for me, like I said, it's all around us. It's everywhere, and it's not something. I think the closest thing that I can maybe compare this to is the response after 9/11, and even that kind of died off. You know, and it was still not really around me.
Yeah, exactly.
Around here, essentially, it all happened on the East Coast.
Yeah. But again, it affected people I care about and love
Right.
very much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I was thinking about an analogy of flattening the curve. I was trying to figure out a way to sort of help people here locally visualize that. So you've got a forest that's got a lot of undergrowth. It's something that, there haven't been any forest fires for a long time, and it's been taken care of. It's got a lot of undergrowth. When a fire comes through, that fire comes through,
Right.
and it tears it up.
Right.
And it's a firestorm, and
Right.
it burns everything, and it's years before things can come back. If you have and that's what happens if we don't flatten the curve, right?
It's creating a defensible space.
Same thing, but you do that around there, and in that analogy of the forest, then that metaphor, if you have less undergrowth, then that fire comes through. It doesn't burn all the way up. It doesn't burn. It might burn through in the canopy and not in the under. It might burn through in the undergrowth and
Right.
not in the canopy. But it's just a much slower moving fire and a much less devastating fire.
And the same thing with you create a defensible space around your property. It's easier, number one, for people to find you, and it's easier, number two, for people to defend your property, for the firefighters to defend your property.
Right.
For you to it's the same. It's the same kind of social distancing.
Right. So the metaphor translates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's just a way to envision all of this. This is what we're doing.
Yes.
And
I'll
if
tell
you're
you
not going to
personally-
do it, and if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for others.
Do it for my folks. Yes.
My stepdad.
Do
Yeah.
it for do it
77
do it
or
for
76.
do it for your waitress's grandkid or grandfather or
Because
father.
let's
parents.
and let's just and you go, okay, well, even if I'm going to be fine. I don't need to worry about this. Let's run some of the numbers, right? So if we've heard things about, this virus possibly affecting half of all Americans.
Right.
Which would put it in the neighborhood of what, 175 million people, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about
solid
350.
75.
Right. So 175 million people, and let's figure low. Because Maddie, who's the smartest kid I know, smartest grown-up adult now, she's 21, I know, has said that probably the mortality rate is inflated because we haven't tested. We don't know how many people are actually out there. So there might be a lot more people with coronavirus, meaning that the known cases are just a subset of the larger cases, so the mortality rate that is applied to the known cases doesn't apply to the larger context of it all.
We're going back to George Bush. The known unknowns and the unknown
the unknowns. We can't know what we don't know. Exactly.
Things we know, we don't know. Things we do, we don't.
So if we take 170 million people and say there's a 1% death rate, 1% mortality rate, that's 1.75 million people in the United States. That's all you got to know right there. That's it. That death rate, even that death rate brought down to 1% because for some demographics, we're looking at like 3 to 5% for older demographics. Across the board, we're at about 2 and change. That is what we're talking about. That's why going and watching Jen and Luke Bayonne, as wonderful as they are and as a great band as they are tonight, is a bad idea. That's why going and sitting and pulling a frickin' slot, which gets cleaned once a week?
Yeah.
And sitting in there with, unless they find that
Doorknob.
cigarette smoke kills the coronavirus.
Oh, yeah, you can smoke in there.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Let's not do this, people.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I forget. Don't go to these places. Don't go to these things tonight. Don't do this. It's time to hunker down.
Just be responsible.
But we have to define what that means. If you're a venue owner, if you're somebody, be responsible means not having an event like this. And I'm sorry to Carol and to Rick. I know it's a big night, and I really wish you would close your doors and just do the takeout this evening. It's very irresponsible what you're doing. And I know you've got a crew. You've got people working for you. You've got fans. You've got a community that enjoys your business. I do as well. I understand all of that. We're beyond that. We're beyond those considerations. We're now into the part where we have to safeguard the health of the community because it means that much more than dollars. And I know you'll say, what are people going to do for money? How are we going to pay our bills? All of that needs to be worked out as well. Yes, all of that. That's the next step in dealing with this issue. We need to take care of each other, not just health-wise, but if we're not going to be able to work, if we're not going to be able to go places to do things, we need to take care of each other as well. Brings me to my last point. It is 11:18. I think that's the first breath I've taken. Paul Kritz with you. It is an ad hoc community service, joined live in the studio by Jessica Sanar from the Wild Rivers Outpost, Jason Fallman tagging along as well. We are just discussing some of the things that need to happen in our community, some of the things that are happening in our community that are perhaps shouldn't be happening in our community as we all deal as best we can with this pandemic. Last thing that I have to say, and before I do, and then I'll hand it if you guys have something you want to add as well. If you know somebody who is like I know, I've been calling my mom and my stepdad every day, giving my dad a call. Today I'm going to check in on him, see how he's doing. I know he's holed up in Gasky. My folks are out by the KOA, and give him a call. If you know somebody in your neighborhood who's old, who's over 70, over 65, who's in that group, and they don't have anybody with them. I know my folks' neighbor is a widow. She just lost her husband. She's in this house all by herself. If you know somebody like that around, check in on them. Go knock on the door. Take a big step back.
Wait.
And then ask them what. Yeah, knock on the door and then take a big step back and say, "Hey, can I get you anything? Do you need any food? Do you need any cleaners? What can we do? What's your phone number? Here's how Facebook works. I don't know, but contact them. Stay in touch with them. We have to take care of each other in that regard as well. If there are folks who are dealing with this alone and who are staying inside as they should be, but are kind of just holed up and elderly, and I know there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of loneliness in the elderly population, and now since you're being forced into staying at home and isolating, case in point, the United Methodist Church, and most of their congregation, like the overwhelming majority of their congregation, is old. Sorry, Mom. But it's true. They were streaming. They were doing a live stream. Pastor Dana Gilport did that. She had a Facebook live stream. They did their stuff live. Blake Inscore and his church, they were in situ this weekend. And I'm like, really? Wow, that's a bad idea. So yeah, all kinds of changes, all kinds of things need to happen. And the watchword is that we as a community and as individuals need to look out for each other. We need to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to herd immunity, and we can get through this. So, I don't know. That's where I am. Rick, Carol, I hope you have a wonderful evening. I wish nothing but the best for Porta Pints. Let me know if you're still underwriters. I will gladly promote takeout and carry out, and folks calling and getting their growlers. We can make a big deal out of it. Jason and I'll do another song for you. But don't open your doors this evening. Please don't do that. Don't do that to us. Don't do that to all of us. We can work together to make sure that everybody gets through this, and everybody gets their bills paid, and everybody has food to eat, and everybody is taking part. But it starts with this evening. Please don't do this. Stream, have Jen and Luke come and set up and play to an empty room. Stream that, have people pick up their growlers and their corned beef and cabbage and take it home. All of that stuff. But I implore you, please do not open up. If you are thinking about going to this tonight because, hey, you're going to be healthy and nothing's going to affect you, and being that almost stereotypical Del Norte contrariness that we have up here, God bless it, please reconsider and don't. It is your actions don't just affect you. They don't even affect just maybe the people next to you, but they can affect this entire community. And you might come through just fine, but you might pass a virus. Even if you don't have symptoms, you can still pass the virus. You very well could pass it on to somebody who is in one of those problematic demographics. People like my folks, people like Sean Waddell, people like the prisoners in the prison, people all around us who can suffer because you wanted to go out and you wanted to have a party on St. Patrick's Day. Those things don't equate in my book, and I would wish that as a community at large, we could rise above those things and start looking after each other and looking out for each other. And that starts with getting through the pandemic and social distancing, taking care of yourself, and being reasonable about your presence in public. I'm trying to find the right song to come out of this with.
Amazing Grace?
Yeah, right. Oh, man. I got one. We'll start with this.
Can I say one thing?
What? Yes, please do.
This sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. It really does. But this is life. This is what happens. This is not the first time, nor will it be the last time. And I'd like us also, because people have been saying, lots of people with knowledge have been saying, this was always a matter of when, not if. It's going to happen again. We need to get our stuff in one sock.
I do a lot of, I take a lot of notes. I write stuff down on legal pads. I actually pulled up some from 2014. They had Ebola on the
Ebola.
Notes.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as pandemics go, 1% mortality rate.
My joke on that page was my Ebola. I was able to joke about it.
Right.
I'm all joked out.
Yeah.
And I try to bring the humor, and it's really tough. But I bring. I'll be back tomorrow 6 a.m. and I'll give the global stats. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to make jokes and stuff about that, but this isn't the place for it right here and right now.
Yeah.
And I'm a joker. I'm a jackass, and I'm a dork. I'm an idiot. I don't know nothing. I don't know anything, but I do know that this needs to be taken seriously.
Yep.
Period, paragraph, and discussion.
Thank you very much, Jay. It's the morning sesh. Weekdays 6 a.m. every weekday. Or are you still doing? Is it Monday through Friday, or is it
all days of the week?
Huh?
Oh, Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. Yeah.
Say weekdays. Aren't they all weekdays?
Oh, they're all morning sesh 6 a.m. Jessica, any last thoughts? Anything you want to add? All right, Jessica Sanar from the Wild Rivers Outpost joining us live today. That was a hell of a rant. Thanks for listening to all of it or any of it or whatever. And let's get out. Let's get out and take care of each other. We can get through this. We have to be smart and we have to listen. Oh, one final thought. I would like to thank Dr. Warren Raywalt and Kimmy Scott, manager of the Office of You see you chime back in, but I turned your mic off.
That's okay.
The folks in charge of our response here in Delaware County are competent, professional, passionate, engaged, and doing. Yeah, I know they're doing. I guess going above and beyond. So thank you very much for not just you guys, but your stabs. Everybody who works under you, who does the stuff. I know, like I mentioned earlier, Mary Dorman taking chocolate down to the health department, right down the strip where she is, because she knows they're working hard, they're answering calls, and they're trying to keep us all safe and healthy and moving into the future.